with me for a minute. The next item on the agenda is an appeal by Citizens for Quality Rural Living, Inc., of an August 11th, 2023 staff decision to approve Huff Creek RV Park. DP 2023-123 under Article 15 of the Greenville County Land Development Regulations. Citizens for Quality Rural Living submitted a notice of appeal to staff's decision under Section 1.6.2 of the Greenville County Land Development Regulations. Because this is an appeal, the Planning Commission's review is limited to the formal letter of appeal from Citizens for Quality Rural Living dated August 14th, 2023, that outlines 7 points of contention related to staff's approval decision. So other issues beyond those included in this letter are not part of this appeal. The appeal will proceed as follows. The designees for Citizens for Quality Rural Living and Greenville County staff will present arguments to the Planning Commission. Because Citizens for Quality Rural Living is the appellate, its representatives will have 10 minutes in which to present its appeal. As the respondent, subdivision administration staff whose determination has been appealed will then have 10 minutes in which to respond. The Planning Commission chair has the discretion to extend these times as needed. I am also adding a 5-minute rebuttal period. I've checked with legal, that is fine. So once staff gives their response, the Citizens for Quality Rural Living will have a 5-minute rebuttal period if needed. Commissioners will then have the opportunity to discuss the appeal, ask additional questions of the parties, or the appellate's representatives who may be present. At the conclusion of the arguments, the Planning Commission will act on the appeal through a motion to decide the appeal. Because this is an appeal, the staff's decision will be affirmed unless the majority of the commissioners present at the meeting vote to reverse the staff decision. So we will start with the speakers for the citizens that are in opposition. Amanda Brett, you have a total of 10 minutes. Give us your name. 10 minutes for everybody. Give us your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Amanda Brett. I'm at 103 New Perry Road, Greenville. I am also the Greenville County School Board trustee for District 26. I was elected to serve the people and the children of Greenville County. Today, though, I am representing the people that elected me to be here. I would, however, like to read a letter that you all should have received last week from the Greenville County School Board. We unanimously voted in favor of sending you this letter, and I hope that you will please take into consideration our concerns. On September 19th, 2023, to the members of the Greenville County Planning Commission, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Greenville County Schools, I am writing to you today to share our collective concerns regarding the proposed Huff Creek RV Park, file number PP 2023123. The Greenville County School Board of Trustees has concerns with potential traffic and safety concerns associated with Ralph Chandler Middle School, the main driveway of which is located directly opposite the planned entrance to the proposed development. At a point in time when we have all seen accelerated growth throughout Greenville community, we are concerned that this development would cause additional stress to an already overburdened roadway system that feeds to this middle school. The additional capacity, we believe, would create safety issues that the developer has not addressed. Ones that directly connected to the students and the families that we serve. If the proposed development does receive preliminary approval, then we respectfully request that the Commission seek to have the South Carolina Department of Transportation require that this developer underwrite the cost of installing a traffic signal system at the intersection created by this development. We thank you for your time and your consideration. Sincerely, Dr. Carolyn Stiles, our board chair. There are 748 students at Ralph Chandler Middle School. A lot of those students walk up and down Fort Shoals Road every single day. There are blind spots and there are no sidewalks. This road is already overburdened, and we do believe that this RV park will bring significant changes in the traffic around here. And if you've ever seen what a school looks like when you have carpool time, imagine what it's going to look like with more traffic on that roadway. We are, the citizens who have contacted me are extremely concerned about that roadway system. And I think you would probably all agree the safety of our children is what we need to have in mind here. I really do appreciate you listening to us, and I hope, did you all receive this letter last week? Did you receive it?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, well, again, Amanda Brett, and I do appreciate you listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the speaker?
Any questions?
Thank you. Tamara Diaz?
Dees.
Dees.
Yes, I'm Tamara Dees, 4222 Fort Shoals Road, Simpsonville, South Carolina, 29680. I live next door to the property of the proposed RV park. 40 years ago, my parents bought 20 acres of land in the country with hopes of building a house. 24 years ago, they built this house, and then I built a house as well. The charm and beauty of living in a rural area are points of pride for our community. A dense RV park could potentially disrupt this natural beauty. It is important that any development respect and enhance the character of our rural area. Article 1.1 of the LDR says Greenville County Council LDR is to provide 1, adequate open spaces for traffic, 2, protection of the floodplain and floodways, and a distribution of population and traffic which will be favorable to health, safety, and welfare of the general public. The Planning Committee has violated this article as well as several others by approving Huff Creek RV Park. There is no space for any traffic. An RV park will make the amount of traffic considerably greater. With Ralph Chandler Middle School across the street, traffic is already heavy during car line. Having RVs coming in and out across from the school entrance will make car line, bus traffic, and student safety more difficult. To compound this matter, there is a blind curve just before the RV park entrance. LDR Article 8.14 states, a minimum quarter sight distance is required to permit drivers to see. The speed limit is 45 miles per hour, which requires at least a 500-foot sight distance. Lack of sight distance violates this regulation. This results in many safety hazards for residents and visitors. Protection of the floodplain and floodways. Article 7.21 says, no subdivision shall be approved that will use a community system as an on-site wastewater system. The Planning Commission has chosen to ignore this. These community septic tanks often fail and are not sufficient to accommodate the amount of waste. The Planning Commission denied application to Atlas Acre subdivision in Fort Shoals because the commission chairman expressed concerns about the subdivision's community septic tank. And vice chairman said that the development density is not compatible with the surrounding area. These systems will drain into the retention pond and into Huff Creek, which flows into the Reedy River. The distribution of population and traffic that promotes health, safety, and well-being of the general public, not so. Compacting these RVs in a small piece of land is uncharacteristic of the immediate area. The presence of an RV park with its associated noise and traffic could lead to decreased desirability of our properties. This in turn may negatively affect property values and the financial well-being of homeowners in our community. It is essential that any development consider the long-term economic implications of the residents in the area and say no to this RV park. I appreciate your time and consideration of my concerns.
Thank you, ma'am. And our third speaker in opposition is Richard Sabo.
I yield my time to the next in line.
Ashley Julie. How much time we got?
4 minutes and 6 seconds.
4 minutes?
I'm Ashley Julian, 135 Fordo Drive in Simpsonville, South Carolina. This proposed subdivision will place a septic tank with drain fields above a U.S. wetlands. With the history of these types of septic tanks failing, the community is concerned of the high risk of further pollution to our Reedy River and the land surrounding it. The area in question flows downhill to the United States wetlands. Any recorded 2 inches of rain causes this area to flood into Huff Creek that flows directly to the Reedy. This is upstream of Greenville County's own Cedar Falls Recreation Area. We should be proactive in protecting our natural resources as we are still dealing with contaminated waters from decades past. Greenville County has denied Applications for these types of septic systems are proposed, most recently being Atlas Acres. On September the 5th, after a third reading, the ordinance to ban community systems was passed in Greenville County. The potential for failure of these systems does not change based off the type of housing that is using them. In addition, Greenville County Comprehensive Plan Land Use Map states properties located south of Highway 418 are classified as rural and agricultural. The specified density is 1 dwelling per 2 acres. These plans were developed and approved by County Council. The density of this RV park is greater than plans allow, and for this reason should be considered for denial. A new subdivision should be compatible with the surrounding land use density in our very rural Fort Shoals community. Another concern is the site distance does not seem to meet requirements along Fort Shoals Road. Currently, the speed limit is 45 miles an hour. Per Article 8.14 of the LDR, minimum site distance for all intersections, county and state, must be 445 feet. The access road creates a blind curve to the north and does not meet this requirement. Current congestion is backed up for a quarter mile in each direction during peak school hours. The additional vehicles this will add will only create worsening conditions, putting the health and safety of our school staff, parents, and the children of Fort Shoals Middle School at risk. This danger was most recently addressed by the Greenville County Schools in a memo to the Planning Commission and on Fox News and YFF4. In conclusion, with the current plans of the RV park, there is a great risk and safety violation to our children, the residents, and the waterways of Fort Shoals. I urge you to consider the impact to our community when reviewing this appeal.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the speaker? All right, that's everybody that's in opposition. So we'll close that segment. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this appeal was filed in accordance with Article 1.6.2, which sets forth an avenue for any decision of staff to be appealed if the appellant feels that staff has erred in applying the LDR. First, I'd like to address Article 1.1, authority of the LDR, which is set forth pursuant to the South Carolina Local Government Comprehensive Planning Enabling Act, which gives County Council the authority to adopt land development regulations to put forth a certain type of development that they've chosen to do. Additionally, staff is then tasked with applying and enforcing those regulations on the submitted applications. So that's how the applications come before us for development, is through that authority, which starts with the state law, goes through County Council, and then is given to staff to enforce and apply in reviewing all applications that are submitted. I'd also like to talk a little bit about Article 1.2, which is the intent section. It further spells out that the land development regulations have been authorized to address several purposes. You can see them on the screen. They're items A through E here. But what I'd like to point out more specifically is the section at the bottom, which states the intent and purposes described in this section are fully set forth in the guidelines and requirements appearing in the regulations as adopted by County Council. What this means is that challenges based in Section 1.1 and Section 1.2 do not hold valid grounds for appeal, as it is the guidelines and requirements as they are written and have been adopted by County Council that are intended to guide development to meet those purposes stated in Articles 1.1 and 1.2. I'd also like to kind of circle back and talk a little bit about the administration section. I put it on the screen before you. That section outlines the procedures for the appeal of a staff decision, which is why we're here today, but it also sets forth a schedule for reviewing and approving submitted plans, which is to remain within state law, that 60-day time clock in which staff has to approve, make sure that all requirements of the ordinance are met, and then issue a decision, so issue an approval in this case. So in understanding how the framework sections of the ordinance are set forth, you then have to think about the guidelines and regulations that are applicable to any application that is submitted to staff for review or submitted for an approval process through the county. What constitutes the specific guidelines and regulations that are applicable to the Huff Creek RV Park? Well, the most important one and probably the clearest section of the ordinance that applies to RV parks is Article 15, which is the RV park section. This section provides general standards that any RV park application must follow. And before I get any further into those specific guidelines and requirements, it is important to note that staff has given additional authority under Article 15.3.2, which states that prior to the construction of any new RV park or an enlargement of an existing one, a development plan must be submitted and approved by the subdivision administrator in accordance with the schedule for preliminary subdivision plans and shall be reviewed by the subdivision advisory committee. It further states that the planning division must approve the proposed development for conformance with all applicable regulations prior to submitting to land development division for a permit. All portions of section 15.3.2 were followed by staff, which is why this application only went through SAC and then was stamped for approval by myself as the subdivision administrator, rather than coming before planning commission for approval. Staff is therefore tasked with ensuring that the rest of Article 15 is met and did so in its review and approval of this application. The appellant even notes this in their appeal cover letter, specifically stating that, quote, "It appears that Article 15 regulations have been addressed." So at this point, I've made it clear that Articles 1.1 and 1.2 are not valid grounds for appeal, as they do not contain specific guidelines for an application of development to meet. Additionally, Article 15 has not been violated. Beyond this, the appellant has put together 7 points on which they believe that staff has violated the LDR. I'm now going to quickly address each of these items and explain whether they are valid grounds for appeal, and if they are, how staff can assure you that the LDR has been upheld in each of those instances. Previously, we've spoken about Articles 1.1 and 1.2. I will not go back over those again, but there is also Article 8.8 mentioned within the claims that the appellant has brought forth. Article 8.8 is another purpose type section, and that section is met when the guidelines under the access and circulation requirements are met. So those further sections under 8.8, like 8.8.1 and those items like that. Those sections were not mentioned in the appellant's appeal, so therefore the purpose section cannot be a valid item for appeal because it doesn't contain those requirements. Additionally, the appellant has noted that the comprehensive plan and the South Greenville area plan that because the application does not align with the comprehensive and area plan for this area, that the ordinance has been violated. The comprehensive plan and South Greenville area plan are guides that do not hold regulatory power and do not outline specific requirements for a development application to follow. Therefore, it is not a valid ground for appeal as shown under the intent section of the LDR.